personally, we are well equipped with that course we are saying we have learned as an accountant, as an engineer, as a doctor. Are you very well equipped with that? Tukisoma wenyewe tuelewe kitu tumesomea, italeta hiyo efficiency in work, and even in employment sector, they should employ people. Like personally, I'm an accountant, but unapata hata kwa banks or these accounting sectors, wameemploy watu wenye hawajasomea cause wako na watu wao. But kungekuwa wanafuata hizo basic nini, even from school uko na well equipped, cause mtu anasema you are half baked. Umetoka shule, yes, you have papers, you have the degrees, but are you well equipped with that field you are learned with? Ama unasema niko na degree, I have papers. I think the system is rotten even from the bottom, because even the teachers are not well motivated. Personally, I have a friend of mine mwenye ni mwalimu, ni lecturer, but huwa anaset mtihani anapatia wanafunzi wake wanasoma na anawapitisha. So by the time you are graduating with that course, will you say uko well equipped to work in these areas? So I think yani kumaribika all over, even them gone are the days. I wish we should go back even to those times kama tukikuwa high school, those serious science congresses, those serious maths competition, whereby you are a maths genius, whereby even if you go to those congresses, unaelewa kenye unafanya. But nowadays, even schools, they are stealing for you to pass. You want to get A's. It's better you get a C+, but you are well competent with what you have learned than getting an A and you umeiba. So even, okay, sio kwa ubaya, hata kama Matiang'i alikaza those days, but at least ulikuwa sure umepata kakitu umesomea. Those days, kuna time pia mimi nilitamani niende Alliance, cause kulikuwa kumesifika kama ujaenda national school, sio kwa ubaya. How can the whole school get A's when you mmesomea uko village school? Those days, even getting a C+ was really tough. If you never went to national school, that was a sure bet you are not going to university. So I want competence based from even kwanzia tu chini hata pale CD kumaribika kwote, even this rectifying. I think inafaa pia we should give our employees even morale, hata watu kama mwalimu. Kwanza I think where the sector where we should start with is teachers. Unaona ndio wamekanyagiwa zaidi, wapewe morale when calculate good manners in us. So by the time hata mtu akitoka huku kitafuta kazi ni karatasi zako wanajua umeelewa. That is it. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Before I go to Western, Eve, habari ya masiku?
Mzuri sana Pipi, habari ya kupotea?
Njema kabisa. Karibu.
Haya. Waacha tuanze. I would like to concur with everyone who has talked about education. I'm a little bit passionate about it. Now, me, my take will be a little bit different. I've heard what Japonji has said. I agree with whatever Western has said. Our economy, there are so very many factors affecting the courses that we are doing currently that will easily affect our futures. Now, we are not in a position whereby we can even mitigate, or let's say we can even predict the future. I'll do this by example. In university, I did Bachelor of Arts in Interior Design. It's an ever-changing course because there are new technologies developed every single time and again. We used to use a software called Graphisoft, produced by a company called Graphisoft. This software, it's majorly used by so very many architectural firms, so it easily translates to interior design because ours is a more lesser part of architecture. Now, with that software, imagine it was in its, I think by the time we were in school, it was in, let's say, Graphisoft 18, the 18th version of that technology. But it wasn't prime in education, in us learning about it in our coursework. Here is whereby I have a problem with a certain section of what Western actually said. Some courses are, when you say useless is a bad word, but let me say redundant. Because at the end of the day, they are not helping you solve future problems or problems that can be foreseen in the future. So you can't say that I'm lucky that the principal skills that I got from my study in interior design, I could easily use them and replicate them in any software or any situation that comes about in future. You get, because the skills themselves, the basic skills that were given were easy to just accept, and they were easy to replicate, in other words. So are we whereby, let's say, whatever we are studying, is it in context of the future 10 years, 20 years, or is it in context of okay, you're studying these skills? Like, even that medicine part, it's ever changing currently. We have new technologies being developed, but what are people being taught in classes? What are the methods that are being taught? Because other methods are being researched and are being implemented, but what are we teaching this future generation who are coming into the medical field, who are going to see people doing different techniques, yet they didn't learn about these techniques in their classes? So it's different factors in it when it comes to education. But the major thing is that our coursework or this are not aligned to look at future generations. They're actually just for the now part of learning. We don't see it as translating to you maybe evolving into accepting technology, working with technology. Currently, right now, we need to work with AI. So is this coursework really targeting that particular view? Are we overseeing or redoing the coursework for it to not render the course redundant or the thing you're studying redundant? For me, that's the major part of all these things. Short and brief. Thanks, Pipi.
Haya, asante sana. Naona tunaenda overtime hapa.
Japonji ametuwekea kitu pale kwenye tipja, ameweka nusu ya ile target yetu. Tunasema kwamba when we go overtime for home run with Pipi, tuna fundraise 1,000 shillings to keep the show going. So the show ends at 9 p.m. So if you want to speak past 9 p.m. and you haven't spoken, unaingia pale kwa tipja line, una support show so that we don't go without pesa za kusupport studio. Unajua Western Shilahu, you were saying something before the internet decided to throw you outside. Peter, what I'm saying is this, that no one comes out of university ready-made, and it's the norm all over the world. They prepare you with knowledge and the theory part of what you want to do. You are into medicine, you can study books, whatever medicine, and then from time to time, you go to hospital and see how doctors who are practicing medicine are doing it. But it's after you graduate, you actually go to a hospital that you actually learn what practicing medicine entails. You come out of school with knowledge, with a theory part, which is important. The same thing if you're a lawyer. You can read books, but you don't know what it means to argue a case in a court of law until you get into a court of law. You may be a teacher. You are taught the theory, philosophy of teaching. You can't make sense of that until you walk into a classroom. So when people say, no, graduates are coming out of school, they don't have skill. No, universities impart knowledge into you. And that knowledge should enable you practice that which you studied for. If you're a journalist, you will come out with the theory, but you get into the field. You understand what practicing journalism entails. You may find, okay, some of the things you studied, they don't apply. It's totally different when you're in the field. And these are jobs, Peter, we're talking about. These are jobs. So if you studied something and you never ever get an opportunity to practice, of course, you won't appreciate what it entails. You studied medicine, you've never gotten an opportunity to practice. Well, you remain that just with theory. So they lie to you when they tell you, no, this CBC thing, it's practical. 844 was about theory, but schooling is about theory. Theory is about thinking. I don't know what they understand. It's about thinking. It's about analysis. It's about explaining phenomena. That's what theory, they teach you that. How to link things abstractly. That's what school teaches you. Now, they may tell you, okay, they have got polytechnics where people go for practical things. There's no room for theory there. It's doing things. But they converted all polytechnics into universities and they destroyed them. They destroyed Kenya Polytechnic. They destroyed Mombasa Polytechnic. They destroyed, I think, Eldoret Polytechnic. Name it. They destroyed them. Kenya Science Teachers College. They destroyed all those things. Again, because, they fetishize the degree. You must hear me clearly. I'm not saying that the degree is not what everybody else should aspire for. They should. But if you also think, no, I want to go for a diploma in engineering or whatever at Kenya Polytechnic, that opportunity should be there. Or I want a diploma in Kenya Science Teachers College, that opportunity should be there. Should be there. So these guys, you see, everything is politics. They never think strategically about the decisions they make. So, okay, you're converting every other institution into a university. What are you doing with the economy? What are you doing with the economy? So that's the question they don't ask themselves. Okay, so these graduates that you, Moi Kibaki, you are saying there's universal free primary education. What are you going to do with those children who are getting into school in 2002? In 10 years, 15 years, 20 years down the line, they did not. People are praising Kibaki. Kibaki did not think beyond primary school. That's why there were no transitions. After primary, some of those kids, they fell into the cracks. The government did not have a long-term plan for them. They don't. So this praise, I don't understand where it comes from. Because it's the whole hog. It's not like, come to school, all of you to primary. Okay, after primary, where would they go? Okay, if they have to go to high school, their parents will not afford high school because they couldn't afford primary. So it follows, logically, they can't afford high school. So you as a government, what will you do with those children who have completed primary? What will you do with them? Those who have gone to high school, what do you do with them? They don't think like that. They don't. So if it is commodification, I agree with you. Some courses in Kenya is about commodification. These are fads. Something's, disaster. At some point, it was disaster management. At some point, it was MBA, if you remember. Because it's money. They look at those. Everybody wants to do that because of money. So no, if you do an MBA, you're going to make so much money. Oh, disaster management is the in thing. These are people who look at education the way people look at tomatoes and what have you. Grow tomatoes because, there'll be demand for tomatoes tomorrow. You don't look at education like that. You don't. Hence, they come up with a degree, I don't know, in procurement management, because they have seen county governments are coming into being. So, we procure management. What is that? Or governance, county government governance. I've seen some things like that. County government governance. What kind of a degree is that? You can't learn those things in political science or public administration. You can't learn those things. But you have to come up with something because you want to mint money from Kenyans and politicians who don't have papers. So they want to buy those things. You create them specifically for them. So, Peter, what I'm saying is Governance is not about what these people do. Talking about we will fight corruption, talking about what governance is also about education. Because you won't get the economy running if you don't focus on education. You can't. Because you need a skilled manpower. And you need an economy that absorbs these people who get into the labor market every year. They don't think like that. So what is the option? We want to create a Saudi-like house, so that before we send our young women to Saudi Arabia, they go through that house. And what kind of people are those? Is that even a government minister? If somebody talking like that, can that person even be a government minister? No, we have got this Saudi-like house here in Kenya. Wonder, these young women, before we send them there, they must go there for some kind of, orientation. What kind of a thought process is that? Even if you're listening to somebody like, what kind of process is that? And he's a cabinet minister. Or you say you're going to export your labor abroad. Are you president of Germany or Saudi Arabia? Do you have an agreement with those people that, look, don't do anything about your economy? Your citizens who come out of school, I'm going to absorb them. Do you have such an agreement? Is there a government anywhere in the world that prioritizes the citizens of another country as opposed to its own citizens? Is there such a government? That Germany, here we've got policies in Nigeria. We know in Nigeria economy is not working, so people don't get jobs. We are here, when we make our policies, we factor in citizens of Nigeria.
I think we have lost Western again. Dr. Mofo, habari ya saizi?
Thank you, Pepita. Thank you for the mic and also the listenership. I'm sorry for joining late, Pepita. I can hear
in China, this
you
linkage, they will tell
fighting.
you they are graduating more people, more PhDs than any other country anywhere. And you can see that in the economy.
Western, can you hear me? I think we are losing you. Sijui kwa nini tunapoteza Western at every moment. Bwana Dr. Mofo, submit while you're bringing back Western onto the mic. Leo ni kama tunaenda overtime, mabibi na mabwana.
Sorry, Pepita, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Can you guys get?
All right, talk to me, doctor.
Can you guys get me?
Yes, I can get you.
Thank you. Pepita, we can hear you wrestle with cutleries and cooking pots. So sorry for joining late. Sorry for joining late. I had been invited somewhere by my daughter. They were having something they call the talent show. She was doing a song presentation. She presented a song, I believe, by someone called Little Pony and Larity, performed in 2015, that says that life is a runway. You can be the girl that you want to be. Perhaps that and what we are talking about in terms of education, we grew up at a time when we believed that being educated, going to school indeed, was the sure way of shaking the shackles and manacles of poverty. And yes, we put our best in it. And unfortunately, or otherwise, life got us to what we are today. But perhaps to wade into the conversation, I want to say that I went to school when I believed I could not be able to afford the higher education. Okay, I couldn't be able to afford the university education. I was a JAB student. For those people who know about it, then I don't know whether that's how they call it today, the Joint Admission Board student. And then you made a choice of the courses you wanted to go for. Usually it used to be 4. If you are lucky and you performed very well, then you'd get your preferred. But if you didn't, you'd be thrown anywhere else. This was a time also when education system was really corrupt. Thanks to Matiang'i, he came and brought in some sanity. I do not know whether it prevails today, because when I see so many people scoring A's, which was proved that if we will be able to manage education cheating, it was almost impossible to have half of the candidates who register for an education or an examination score straight A's. That and other things that have been brought up by Mr. William Ruto, it is unfortunate that he seems to be, running down virtually everything. But what I want to say is, I went to Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology. I took a course which was, I believe, used to be a branch within the horticulture, Department of Horticulture, bachelor's, we used to call it the Bachelor's of Science, Ornamental Science and Landscaping. Now, remember then, Jomo Kenyatta being a University of Agriculture and Technology, it has so many high-profile courses in engineering, architecture, and many people then they believed that you were destined to be more successful if you went for the bigger courses like the engineering, civil engineering, mechanical engineering, mechatronic engineering, all those matter. Now, me with a small course unknown, I struggled even understanding what I wanted to be in life. Let alone you meeting me and asking me, what are you doing? What do you want to be in life? Or what is this course preparing to be? So what happened is we were turned to be timid. We observed ourselves as being less among the equals, and we would hide. At some point, we started inclining towards architecture. And we would tell people, you know what, we are architect students. We used to call them landscape architecture. Now, as life would have later, and I'm saying this because if you believe in what you are pursuing and you do it passionately, I believe every cause has a purpose, and it was designed to, get something or mold you into something that will be important and relevant in life. So we completed school, and to make the long story short, is I ended up in the field of agriculture. I went for masters and I did agronomy. Today, I identify myself as an agronomist. Before I decided to go into military police. But what I want to say is, for the longest, and in my subsequent interaction with the people who went for those big courses, the same way I struggled hiding among them and not identify myself is how those people struggled hiding after school. Because what I did is I identified a niche, I pursued it because there's a lot of opportunity in agriculture. And I think I was also equally blessed. I got a chance to work for an international company And while my peers struggle to buy cars for themselves, I never struggled. I could tell you, since I joined the camp, I started working, there's no one single day that I failed to have a car parked outside my house. And for the longest, I never owned a car. So I'm talking about the privileges that came with my job, let alone the pay and everything. So sometimes we go for big courses, we lose the bigger picture, and ultimately, even the big courses don't give us what we want in life. So it is important to value even the little you have. Eve has spoken eloquently about remaining relevant or the question of some courses becoming redundant in life along the way. And I believe what happens here is it is incumbent upon you as a professional to keep yourself up to date. Say, for example, there are people, for example, I meet today and they tell me they went to school, they did architect, and then they relied on drawings manually. You know, the use of the rulers, the use of the pencils, and all those kind of things. It is therefore incumbent upon them to ensure they up to date, for example, the use of ArchiCAD and the other software. Because today, it makes easier, it makes his life easier. And so even in medicine today, if you learn about surgery, open surgery, there is what they are calling non-intrusive incision. So it is upon a person to ensure they remain relevant, whether it means going to school or taking short courses so that you are able to pursue and be up to date and remain relevant. What else do I want to say? I also wanted to say that I don't know whether you guys spoke politics. It is unfortunate that, let me talk about it today, that yesterday when Mr. William Ruto fielded questions from the journalists and admitted there's been abduction, I believe that by itself was a self-incriminating statement. It was indictment to him and the government. And I believe we need to declare war against him. For him to say that every people who have been abducted have gone back home, we know so many other people whose lives have been disseminated, others we believe are criminated, and also others will never be accounted for even today. So I think it was an absurd moment, and it should never be business as usual. Thank you, Pepita. Thank you, the listenership.
Looks like, asante sana Dr. Mofo, looks like we have lost Western Shilaho. I don't know if he can be able to reconnect to us because our network has been having an issue where his submission gets cut in the middle. Mnanichekelea na crockery bwana. Maisha ya bachelor ni ngumu. Leo njaa imenipiga nikashindwa kungojea kufunga. Anyway, thank you, Dr. Mofo, and I'm glad you found time for family as well. Japonji, wendo umetuingiza kwa hii rabbit hole. What do you have to say?
Pipi, hii rabbit hole imejileta. Unaona kila mtu amekuja kwa mic. So, Pipi, we need more time for this discussion. As you can see, it's a hot topic. And Pipi, there is something that I was talking about before. Pipi Sisi, tulingia through, Dr. Mofo too is like my brother. The way he's talking, the way I struggle like ingia jab, we are on the same shoe, Mr. Dr. Mofo. Sisi ni wale, we didn't know we will ever go to university. But the only thing that we were sure of, you have to get your A's, your straight A's, to move to the next level. Because during our time, if you remember, if you were called via the JAB, Joint Admission Board, ulikuwa na high chances, alafu unapewa loan na HELB. So technically, it's like unaenda kusoma for free. Kwa sababu the loan that you used to get was enough for fees, ulipe rent, uishi poa shule, unaenda sherehe. And some people even use that loan kulipia their siblings' fees. So that is where we come from, unaget. But we knew that you had to fight tooth and nail to enter to get that admission into university. So some of us, people, we went to universities and we were pioneers. For example, someone like me who are called for BCom, and then you go there and then you see BCom, kila mtu amejaa, everybody's doing BCom. And then you are given options juu ya unajua when you enter campus, those times, first semester unaambiwa you have sijui 3 weeks to change course, 4 weeks. Alafu ikishapita sijui unaambiwa now you cannot change, you have to call off one semester, something like that. So some of us, we weighed our options, unajua unaangalia unasema no way I'm going to do this, because you look at people who have done these courses, those days akukuwa na sijui internet everything, 2003 2 course one. So you go there in the library, you check what exactly am I getting into, unajua there was no this like career talk or role model. Hiyo iliishia pale high school wakati ulikuwa na pick courses, unajua. So you go there and then you are like no, you go for the first lecture huko unapata imejaa, kila mtu anafanya the same course watu wako nje na yani you have to book some space or something, then you are like there is something wrong. So I mean, so you do your due diligence, and that has been me since those days, doing my own due diligence. So sisi tuliangalia tukaangalia, nikasema tukaenda kwa this sijui, to cut the long story short anyway, I ended up doing this course that most of you even have never heard, inaitwa Sports Science, Kenyatta University. So sports science, that time we were pioneers, the first students. Nikajoin hiyo wagon because I loved sport. I used to play football up to national level, nini. So I was very good in soccer and everything. I was sporty. I had an athletic body. I used to do it. So I was like, this is in for me. And I used to love the bio and chem, so to maths. So maths, bio, chem, physics. So those were the requirement for you. Then I was like, okay. Then I qualified. I just went to change, and then nikajipata huko. Class of 47 students. I went through the course outline and everything. Then I realized this is what I want, because I realized that it had so much skill set on those units. You could actually become anything. You could be a physiotherapist, sports officer, sports manager. You could be a teacher in high school. You could be anything. So there was a lot of skill set. Hapo ungekuwa mpaka nutritionist, ungefungua kliniki yako na ukuwe diabetes. Yani, there was a lot of things there. Then I said, this is what I want. Unajua, So based on that, we realized that it was not as easy as it sounded. And we realized there were only 2 universities in Africa offering that. That was South Africa, I think Cape Town, and KU that time. And it was very rare, but it was very marketable in the West or outside Kenya. And it was popping up enough. Then we said, so 47 students, I think, and then after the first semester, we were reduced to 34 because people failed the exam. It was very tough, anatomy, nini. So then I said, this is what I want again. So it kept me going and going, until, so as we speak, when we were in third year, I can tell you, everybody alikuwa na job. Because we realized that in the government sector, people who are in the sports offices, the whole of Ministry of Sport, they didn't have qualification of those things they were doing. They had no idea. So this course, there was a way that it was tailored for the job market in Kenya and everywhere, such that ukiingia kwa ofisi ya sports Kenya nini, ukiingia kwa provincial sports officer, all those times, unaingia because you had the required, the required degree and all that, the skills, unajua. So it was so easy. By third year, all of us had jobs, and even people who are now who were like second year, the new student, we were able to mentor them, and everybody was well off, So then I said, this is what most people should focus on, unajua. So I don't know if it was luck, but people went abroad, people got scholarships. So that's how we made it, unajua. So that's why I'm saying, as someone enters the university, they need to do their own due diligence, do background check. What are you getting into? Then I remember when I got my first job, with the Emirates, unajua, with Emirates, and then I was able to go around, because I could be anything. I could work as a nutritionist, a physiotherapy assistant. I could do a lot of things. I could work as a personal trainer, fitness consultant, stadium, like a lot of things. So there was a lot of need for our expertise, unajua. So we came in here and formulated the whole fitness industry and all that, someone can tell you. And then the rest is history. So that's one course that you can be anything. You can go to Bahrain, you can go to UK, you can go to US, you will still perform. And actually, it's more marketable there than in Kenya. But Kenya, still, they need those people. The replacement has been okay. So as you go for those, as your siblings, I don't know, your kids do, because the lesson that I learned is that if at any point I will see maybe my son when they reach that age whereby they are confused, they don't know what to pick, I think I would be very good mentor for them. Because I remember when we had to go back to KU to give those lectures, to the students. We were pioneer students, so we had to formulate, a group, go back there, give them, some talk, academic talk, all this thing, and then a lot of people even joined the course. So PP again, let's also focus on individual, somewhat individual, like growth, like what do you want for yourself? And do you have that chance? Do you have that liberty or freedom of just doing anything as you wish, just for the sake of it? Or wewe uko na haraka, you want to finish your course, get job and move on. Unaget? So you have to look at those things. Anyway, thanks PP. Let me listen.
Naona bwana Makotsi ameingia kwenye kipindi. Makotsi, how are you doing? Edwin, habari yako? Sijui kama Edwin ananipata.
But PP Edwin ako kwa listen.
Na mimi namuona kwa speaker. Haya, nimeanza kuonyeshwa mambo yangu. Edwin, hebu request the microphone and talk to us, because this is becoming serious. Me, I'm seeing him on the listener. Remove from speakers basi. Haya, Western Shilaho pia, I think ulikuwa utufatie final words zako. As we call it a night here, ladies and gentlemen, it has been one great night. And of course, kama kawaida, thank you so much for being here with us since we started up until now. I hope to get to hear final words from Edwin and of course Western Shilaho. And of course, I hope tuliwasikiza wote. Now tunakumbusha kwamba tukienda overtime, make sure you go into that Tipja line so that we can help keep these lights on this side of the studio. Na mnaona hata tunapika kati kwa mtandao. Mimi ni bachelor boy, ntaoa kutoka wapi? Japonji.
Mimi nilikwambia usioe sahi, ngojea kidogo, ngojea kwanza Ruto atoke, please, usioe sahi.
Mimi ni bachelor boy, lakini nitaoa kutoka wapi? Sasa ndio hizo siku nazo zinabadilika. But anyway, small cooking iniweke kwa mtego Japonji.
Ama uolewe.
Unasema eti niwaambie mimi ni gold digger.
Hiyo gold iko wapi pipi? Na gold yenyewe imeshachukuliwa ikauzwa nje. Hakuna gold Kenya.
Mashallah. Thank you so much, Japonji, also for engaging me. If you come with final words for us, Mama.
Mi yangu ni kusema tu, hii topic ni kubwa sana. We should do it a different time. It's so big. It's good because it usually we usually just start with education, as Western had said. Education is where our economy will eventually depend on. If we don't have skilled people, then how are we able to now manage? How are we able to build this economy, this Kenyan economy? If the people who it's just to say, if we have unskilled people, then we can easily say that we don't have the capacity to bring in investors for them to actually come into this country, pump in their money,
because we'll be offering labor, in other words. So how is this government helping us by lessening the is it the factors ama njia za kupata education? No, they're trying to doom us into this poverty mindset of not being able to develop our economy. But me ni nani? Internet iko, they're claiming Pipi, ni wewe ndo ulisema hapa ati various places ziko na free wifi being offered. Me, the one I remember is that one at Kencom that you pay 20 bob CG to surf with Wi-Fi for an hour. That's the one I remember. It's like 3 years back. I don't know of any free ones. I've not seen free ones in Kisumu. It's not there. So, ni hogwash. That's my take. We'll talk tomorrow.
Okay, sawa, nimekusikia. Of course, wadau, mwingia ni pale kwenye TipJan niweze kulipia hata tiki angalau labda numbers zitarudi juu. Then they realize Twitter wamekuwa wabaya. Mpaka if you are hosting a space without a blue tick, they also throttle your numbers. Anyway, wekeni tip pale hivi niweke za hiyo blue tick. Western Shilaho.
Pipita, what I'm saying is that we have a lot of problems in Kenya, and one of the sources of problems does not get sufficient attention, and that is the education. Because successive governments have never ever accented education. Therefore, the tendency for us to think that education is useless or to go to school is a waste of time is high, and we understand it from that perspective. But the day we get it right and we get a government that appreciates what education has done for other societies, these things we are talking about will just disappear like, morning dew. We'll not even spend time talking about these things. They'll completely disappear. Because even when you mention about Singapore, we like a lot invoking Singapore. Singapore, they are very competitive as far as education is concerned. In fact, if you are to do, a mathematics test comparing students all over the world, year in, year out, Singaporean students come tops. I mean, that's not by magic, because they understand for them to be really globally influential, they cannot forget about education. But for us, what do we have? We have a whole host of funny characters, in public spaces, people who haven't been to school. So Kenyan youth will wonder, but does it even pay to go to school? Individuals haven't been to school, they have bought papers, they've got so much money. What that does is that it erodes confidence and trust in education. But if you were talking about corruption, the most corroding and damaging corruption in Kenya is the corruption that has messed up with our education system, Peter. Whether it's the examining body, as I think it was Mochecho was putting it, people getting grades they don't deserve, a whole host of things. Last time, you remember what was happening? Oh, KCSE results, those ones are provisional. Since when? Did you ever hear of something like that? That those results are provisional? Or results are even being amended. You go, you complain, they're amended. So what were you people doing? Those things have far-reaching ramifications. Because then, as a society, Peter, you can't tell which talent fits where. As in, it's the education system, you tell, okay, this student here fits here, this one fits here. If you have got students in medicine, actually, you have got people in medicine who deserve to be there. It's not that you have got students in medicine who could afford to pay, and the students who could be in medicine, but they couldn't afford to pay. So the government admits a few students and then reserves the other slots for those who can pay. You see? Then you wonder why we've got botched operations in hospitals. Not by surprise. We sell everything. The other day somebody was complaining, So many universities are teaching lawyers. Pipita, let people be taught law, so that even you person you meet along the streets may not be practicing law, but they have studied law. For that's what happens in other jurisdictions, Pipita. That's what happens. If you want to study that, go and study it. Not like this gatekeeping like in Kenya. Gatekeeping. There's gatekeeping in engineering, gatekeeping in law, gatekeeping in medicine, gatekeeping across the board. So if you are not well connected, you are locked out of those professions. A friend of mine, Pipita, told me the other day, and I think I shared with you, how students are failed at the Kenya School of Law. Failed. And they can give you, I think, 48, 49. I think the pass mark is 50 or something. So they give you 48, 49. So you say, no, I don't think I have to resit this particular paper. I can apply for a remark. Okay, I think somebody will mark my paper and can find 1 mark or 2 marks. Will at least look at my paper favorably. Pipita, you apply for a remark. This person gives you, if you had 49, gives you 48. If you had 48, retains you at 48 or gives you 47. And you paid money for that. Or saying how much? 15,000 or something? 1 paper to be marked? Say you failed, I don't know, 3 or 4 papers, count. Pipita, we can't have that in our education system. We cannot. Where people have set up a school and for gatekeeping. So we're going to fail this number of students. From them, we're going to make money. Those who are going to repeat the courses and those who will opt to apply for remark will make money for them. They apply for remark, they don't pass, so they have to resit the course. Those problems, we have to get those problems out of the way. And we don't have anybody to do that. So we talk about, what people are doing in parliament, but what is supposed to anchor our society is completely shredded into pieces, and that's the education system, completely into pieces. So let us not blame ourselves. There's nothing wrong with what you studied. Absolutely. Nothing wrong. Anybody can tell you, don't believe them. If they've given up on you, it's their business. They can give up on you. But don't give up on yourself. Don't, when you are by yourself, you pity yourself. No, I studied wrong things. But somebody will show you a doctor who is also struggling. So should you have studied medicine? Should you? Or somebody will show you a lawyer who will tell you, have you ever asked yourself, Pipita, why when there's a presidential petition, you see the same names? James Orengo, I don't know, Ngatia, Gidu Muigai. Where are these other lawyers? Why don't they come to argue those cases? How come? How come? They're the same? Oh, regarding impeachment, Orengo is there, I don't know what. The same characters. What does it tell you? It tells you that profession has got top-heavy gatekeeping. So even if you are excited, you've been admitted into law, with the time you realize, you know what? This profession has got gatekeepers. It's not as open as you may think. It's not as clear-cut as you may think. The same problems teachers are complaining about Teacher Service Commission. Employment letters are being dished out in funerals and barazas. How? It's who you know. Politicians. No, we have got letters here for teachers. How did you get those letters? Nurses will also tell you about their problems. Engineering has got also a lot of gatekeeping, Pipita, because that's where we've got mega infrastructure projects. So there's massive corruption there. It's not just anybody and everybody that you study in engineering. No, there are these, fat cats who are in charge. 10% is mine. We're going to give you this tender. 10% is mine. 10% of so much money, Pipita. Millions and millions. How much is that? Which you have not worked hard for. So that's our education system, Pipita. But they will oversimplify all those things and say, no, Pipita. The problem with this is that you studied the wrong thing. Okay, so what's the wrong thing that I should have studied? What is it? And why don't you remove those wrong things from college and just leave the right things? And what are they? And then you tell them, let's go to Harvard. Tell me that people are not studying music at Harvard. People are studying music at Harvard, aren't they? Tell me that people are not studying anthropology at Oxford. People are studying anthropology at Oxford, aren't they? They are. Name it, education, they are studying. So when it comes to us, they tell us, no, these things are useless. But you are not the people who came up with this kind of system of education. You imported it. So who gave you the permission to, distill what is relevant and what is not relevant? Who gave it to you? It's not yours. It's formal schooling. This is a colonial legacy. Somebody else came with it. But if you go back where those people, are, people are studying everything and anything. So what about us? Yeah, because you are not working hard enough. They will tell you that people, no, you're not working hard enough. That's why your business is not doing well. But you're taxing me to the bone. How can you tax me to the bone? You are burdening me with a lot of levies, and at the same time, you're telling me I'm not working hard enough. Oh, really? So it's always you to blame. You. Security starts with you. Uhuru Kenyatta will tell Kenyans, security, but how can security start with me? Yet I elected you as a government to guarantee my security. What do you mean by security begins with me? So it's also my responsibility. So if the economy is not doing well, Pipita, I can't get a job. I can't feed my family. I can't take my kids to school. It is my problem. It's not the problem of the government. If I open a business, it's not doing well, I'm not breaking even. It is my problem. If I go to hospital, I can't get medicine. I can't afford. It is my problem. It's not the problem of the government. Can you see how this kind of narrative is so problematic? So problematic. We shouldn't entertain it. That's the point I'm making. We shouldn't. If professors can talk like that, well, you can have a professor who doesn't even understand what education is. It's very possible. Ministers of education can talk like that. Yes, you can have a minister of education who doesn't understand what education is. People who are running the economy in the treasury, national planning, can have very convoluted ideas about this economy. Yes, it's normal to have them. But let us not actually buy into their misleading and distorted, readings of very intractable problems that we have. And there are some of the architects of these problems, and they don't have to take responsibility. So what do? They shirk responsibility and they outsource responsibility to you and me. And then they tell us, we have a solution. What solution? We want to take you to Saudi Arabia. We want to take you to Germany. We want to take you to United Arab Emirates. I mean, these characters are not going to take us out of this morass. Because, Peter, as I yield, a friend of mine from Mozambique told me the other day that whenever he hears somebody mention the word development, his reaction is, get out of here. Just get out of here. I don't want to hear that word development. Because often people who talk about development don't understand what it is. But they purport to do. They don't. Listen to any Kenyan politician or public official talking about development. They don't understand what they're talking about. According to him, and I agree with him, the problems they have in Mozambique, which are not dissimilar to the problems we have in Kenya, will require that the economy grows at over 10% per annum for over 40 years for there to be noticeable difference in people's living standards. Can you see, Pepita? For 40 years. How old are we here? 40 years. Take that, put it in Kenya. For this economy here, to have noticeable difference in our lives, it must grow consistently at over 10% for 40 years to make an impact in the levels of poverty that we have and create jobs that will go around so that people not just have a job to survive. You can have a job just to survive, but to have a job and have a decent, short, but a decent life. Do you see these politicians having what it takes to realize that? Do you? Look at any one of them. Do you think they have? They don't. So they'll keep with these narratives tomorrow, next year, the following day. Let us not buy into their simplistic and reductive reading of our problems. Yes, they have messed up our education. They have. But it's not true that people who go to school and are in school, they waste time. You don't waste time Peter, for having gone to school. That paper that they're saying is useless gives you a fighting chance. Fighting chance. It may not be local, it may be elsewhere. There's a fighting chance. But without that paper, it's like they own you. They completely own you. There's nowhere you're going. They own you. They've kept you under lock and key, and they'll exploit you. That I think we must get that distinction right. You may have it in your briefcase, but that paper means something. Don't look at it and say, no, this paper is useless. It hasn't given me a job. No, that paper means something. Peter here, thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Western Shilaho. We have gone extra hours, Jermaine. Yeah. Extra. Dr. Mofo, talk to us. Nimecheza mambo yangu hapa.
This is Home Run with Pipi.
Hey, uzee inafika. Dr. Mofo, talk to us.
Connected.
Pipita, I do not know whether you have a neighbor that one day when you found your house broken into in daytime and asked them, do you know who broke in my house? And they told you, no, we did not see. Yet it happened in daytime. The same person will tell you who visited you in the midnight at the wee hours, who you came back with. It is that level of indifference that Mr. Uhuru Kenyatta, when he was the government in the presidency, he said that security begins with you. He believed in what we call community neighborhood watch, an extra eye that acts as deterrent for crime happening in the society. And so I would not fully agree with Western when he says that the issue of security primarily lies exclusively, not primarily, but exclusively lies with the government. I believe we people play a big role in facilitating crime happening in the society by way of being silent and deliberately silent, because we ask ourselves, what business do we have? What is in it for us? I've spoken about my daughter. I'm passionate about this. I've been teaching her a few words here and there. The other day we were discussing with her what corruption is. Now she knows corruption is mismanagement of the government, of the resources, public resources. Yesterday she asked me, what are taxes? And I explained to her, taxes is the money that is given or taken by or collected by the government. This is how the government earns its revenue. And I told her that in return, what this money does is it helps in running government affairs, in providing, building infrastructures, building school, building hospitals, and all these kind of things. And I told her, what happens in Kenya is all this money is taken by the government, by a few people, mismanages that. So I related taxes, mismanagement of taxes, and corruption. Peter Japonji has told us that he was the pioneer for sports management in Kenya. The other day, Mr. William Ruto told us that his son is taking a master's degree in sports science so that he would come back and help Harambee Stars. My question to him is that, did he think that, is he telling us that there's no single Kenyan who's ever taken a course in sports management? Japunji, you tell us why you're not managing that, and you've got to wait for Mr. William Ruto's son to come and run the affair and improve sportsmanship in Kenya. Total rubbish, total hogwash, and I believe this Mr. William Ruto is a major problem, impediment to development and growth of our economy. Thank you, Pipita. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Thank you so much for that. I think that is going to be our final submission for tonight. It's time for Bachelor to take some time. Umeniambia story ya majirani kidogo nianze kufikiria ni ukweli nimeporwa. But anyway. Anyway, thank you so much, Dr. Mofo, and everybody who has tuned in to Home Run with Pipi since we started up until now. We will be back here again tomorrow. Probably that education conversation might be on our palette, and we will talk about education, of course, skills and immigration. What do you guys think about that? Education, skills, and immigration.